So, you want to build a company. Not just any company, but one that really lasts, one that becomes truly great. Well, today, we're diving into the blueprint for exactly that, breaking down the incredible wisdom from Jim Collins and Bill Lazier's classic book, Beyond Entrepreneurship. And if you're wondering just how important this book is, just listen to this.
I mean, seriously, how often do you hear the founder of a company like Netflix say you should memorize part of a book? That's Reed Hastings, and that kind of endorsement tells you everything you need to know. The stuff we're about to cover isn't just theory, it's the real deal foundation for building something that can change the game.
And that really gets to the core of it, right? Look, anyone can have a flash of inspiration, get some funding, and launch a startup. That's the easy part. The real challenge, the thing that separates the good from the great, is building an organization that can actually endure, that can grow and thrive for decades. It's about making that lead from just being an entrepreneur to building a great company. So to figure this out, we're going to follow their blueprint. We'll start with the absolute foundation, your vision and values. Then we'll set our sights on a massive goal, look at the kind of leaders and people you need, understand the culture that holds it all together, and finally, talk about how you can actually start building.
Okay, first things first, the foundation. Before you do anything else, before you hire, before you build a product, before you even think about strategy, you have to know what you stand on. This is the bedrock of your company, your vision and your core values. Everything, and I mean everything, gets built on top of this.
Now, this is a really important distinction the authors make. Your core values, that's who you are, right now. They're the principles that are so deep, they're non-negotiable. Aspirational values, on the other hand, are who you want to be. And here's the trap. Mixing these two up is a huge mistake. If you say innovation is a core value, but you don't actually innovate, you just look fake. You break trust before you've even started.
All right, once that foundation is solid, you need a destination, a North Star that everyone can see. And we're not talking about some boring quarterly target here. We're talking about something way, way bigger. It's what the authors gave a legendary name to, the big, hairy, audacious goal. A BHAG, or BHAG as it's known, is that one giant goal that gets everyone fired up to come to work. Think about Microsoft's early BHAG, a computer on every desk and in every home. It's so huge, it's kind of scary, right? But it's not impossible. It's a powerful rallying cry that gets the whole company pulling in the same direction, focused on one clear, exciting mission.
So you've got your foundation, you've got your destination, but who's gonna fly this thing? This brings us to the most important part, the human engine of the company, the leaders and the people who make it all happen.
Collins talks about a really specific kind of leader that's needed for this journey, and he calls it a level 5 leader. And this is so key. It is not about a huge ego or a celebrity CEO. It's actually a paradox. These leaders have deep personal humility. They're quiet, they avoid the spotlight, but at the same time, they have this intense, almost ferocious will to make the company succeed. All their ambition is for the company, not for themselves. And how do they do it? Well, it's all about empowerment. Level 5 leaders know that they are not the source of all the great ideas, so they don't command and control. They push responsibility down the ladder. They give real ownership to the people who are closest to the action, and then build a culture where everyone feels accountable for the results. Success becomes a team sport, not a solo act.
Okay, so we have the foundation, the goal, and the people. But what is it that holds all of that together, especially when you start growing and things get chaotic? That brings us to culture. And it's not about ping pong tables, it's the invisible operating system for your entire company.
The authors call it the glue, and that's the perfect word for it. A strong culture built on those core values we talked about does two amazing things. First, it attracts people who are a natural fit, and just as importantly, it repels people who aren't. It's like a filter, ensuring that as you grow, everyone is still guided by the same core principles. And this brings us to one of the most brilliant ideas in the book, what they call the genius of the and. See, so many companies fall into the trap of thinking they have to choose. Either we preserve our core values, or we innovate and change. But great companies refuse to make that choice. They do both. They are absolutely fanatic about preserving their core identity and, at the same time, relentlessly push for progress and change. It's that tension that creates greatness.
So we've walked through all the pieces of the puzzle. The foundation, the goal, the people, the culture. Now it's about putting it all together into a real blueprint you can use to build your own great company.
So here it is, your blueprint. And the key thing to remember is that it all works together. You start by defining your vision and core values, who you are. Then you set that giant, exciting BAG. You find and cultivate level 5 leaders who empower their teams. You build a strong culture that acts as the glue, and you never, ever stop doing both, preserving your core while pushing for progress. That's how you build to last.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. Looking at this whole blueprint, it doesn't matter if you're leading a team of 2 people or 2,000. What is the one brick, the single most important piece of this foundation that you need to lay down, starting right now, to make sure what you're building is going to last?